In a small town where everyone knew each other, there was a park that served as the heart of the community. Families gathered for picnics, children played on swings, and teenagers hung out on warm summer evenings. However, beneath the surface of this picturesque setting, tensions simmered, especially between law enforcement and some members of the community. One sunny afternoon, a group of teenagers gathered at Maple Park. Among them was a 17-year-old named Malik Johnson. Malik was well liked among his peers, known for his infectious laugh and kind heart. He had dreams of becoming a professional basketball player and spent most of his free time practicing his shots on the park's basketball court. As Malik arrived at the park that day, he was filled with excitement. His friends were already there, engaged in a heated game of basketball. The sun shone brightly overhead, casting long shadows on the pavement as they played. Malik joined in, dribbling the ball with skill and agility, his laughter mingling with that of his friends. The arrival of Officer Daniels. However, their fun took a turn when Officer Tom Daniels arrived on patrol. Officer Daniels was known in town for being strict and often aggressive in his approach to policing. He had a reputation for targeting young people, especially those who looked different from what he considered normal. As he drove through the park in his cruiser, he noticed Malik and his friends playing basketball. Instead of appreciating their camaraderie and energy, Officer Daniels frowned. He parked his car and stepped out, adjusting his uniform as he approached the group. "Hey, what are you kids doing here?" he barked, crossing his arms over his chest. Malik paused mid-dribble, sensing the tension in the air. "We're just playing basketball, officer," he replied calmly, trying to diffuse any potential conflict. "Playing? It looks more like you're causing trouble," Officer Daniels shot back, his voice dripping with disdain. "You know this park is for everyone, not just for you kids to hang out." Rising tensions. Malik's friends exchanged glances, unsure how to react to the officer's hostility. "We're not causing any trouble," one of them said defensively. "We're just having fun." Officer Daniels stepped closer, towering over Malik with an intimidating presence. "I don't want to see you loitering around here anymore," he said sharply. "You need to leave." Malik felt anger bubbling inside him, but tried to stay composed. "We're not loitering. We're playing a game," he insisted, trying to stand his ground. The officer's expression hardened. "I said leave. You don't belong here," he snapped. Malik felt a rush of humiliation wash over him as he realized that this wasn't just about playing basketball. It was about something deeper, prejudice and discrimination that seemed to seep into every interaction between certain members of law enforcement and young people in their community. The confrontation. "Why are you treating us like this?" Malik asked, voice trembling slightly with frustration. "We're just kids trying to enjoy our summer." "Because I can," Officer Daniels replied coldly. "You think you can just do whatever you want?" "Not on my watch." Malik's friends began to protest more loudly now, their voices rising in anger at the officer's unjust treatment of Malik. "This isn't fair," one shouted. "He hasn't done anything wrong." But Officer Daniels ignored them completely. He stepped forward aggressively and pointed toward the exit of the park. "Get out! Now!" Feeling cornered and humiliated in front of his friends, Malik reluctantly backed away from the court. He turned to look at his friends one last time before walking toward the park entrance, a mix of anger and sadness swirling within him. The aftermath. As Malik walked away from the basketball court, he could hear whispers behind him, his friends discussing how unfairly he had been treated by Officer Daniels. They were angry too. They knew this wasn't right. "Don't worry about it, Malik. We'll talk to someone about this," one friend called out as they followed him toward the exit. Malik nodded, but felt defeated inside. The sun seemed to dim as he left Maple Park behind him. It felt like losing a piece of himself, a place where he felt free to be just another kid, enjoying life. Later that evening at home, Malik couldn't shake off what had happened earlier in the day. He sat on his bed staring blankly at his basketball resting against the wall, a symbol of both hope and frustration. His mother walked into his room and sensed something was wrong immediately. "What happened today?" she asked softly as she sat beside him. Malik sighed deeply before recounting everything that had transpired with Officer Daniels, the confrontation that had left him feeling powerless against authority figures who didn't see him for who he really was. A mother's wisdom. His mother listened intently as he spoke. Her heart ached for her son, who faced such challenges simply because of his skin color. After he finished recounting the incident, she placed her hand on his shoulder reassuringly. "Malik," she began gently, "I know it hurts right now, but remember that your worth isn't defined by how others treat you or see you." "But Mom," Malik protested softly, frustration creeping back into his voice. "It's not fair. I didn't do anything wrong." "I understand," she replied calmly, "but sometimes people let their biases cloud their judgment." She paused for a moment before continuing. "What matters is how you respond to these situations." "What do you mean?" Malik asked curiously. "You have a choice. You can let this define you or rise above it," she said firmly, yet lovingly. "You have dreams. Don't let anyone take those away from you." Finding strength. Her words resonated deeply within him. They ignited a spark of determination that had been smothered by feelings of anger and helplessness earlier in the day. "I want to be better than this," Malik declared, quietly but resolutely, his mother's encouragement giving him strength anew. That night, as he lay in bed staring up at the ceiling, he made a silent promise to himself. He would channel this experience into something positive rather than let it drag him down further into despair or resentment towards authority figures who didn't understand him fully, yet still held power over many aspects. Life around him. With renewed resolve fueling dreams ahead, he closed his eyes, knowing tomorrow would bring new opportunities, waiting patiently just beyond horizon, ready explore, discover together. The following day, Malik woke up with a renewed sense of purpose. He remembered his mother's words from the night before and felt determined to rise above the negativity he had encountered. After breakfast, he grabbed his basketball and headed to Maple Park, ready to face whatever came his way. As he approached the park, he noticed a group of kids playing on the swings and slides. The laughter and joy filled the air, but Malik felt a knot in his stomach as he neared the basketball court. Would Officer Daniels be there again? Would he have to face that hostility once more? Taking a deep breath, Malik stepped onto the court. To his relief, it was empty. He dribbled the ball, feeling the familiar rhythm soothe his nerves. He practiced his shots, focusing on his technique and pushing aside thoughts of yesterday's confrontation. Support from friends. After a while, Malik's friends began to arrive one by one. They greeted him with smiles and encouragement, clearly eager to support him after what had happened. "Hey, Malik, you ready to show off those skills?" one friend called out as they approached. "Yeah, let's play," Malik replied, feeling a surge of excitement. As they began their game, Malik noticed that everyone seemed more cautious than usual. They were playing hard, but also keeping an eye out for Officer Daniels. It was as if they were all aware of the tension that had lingered since yesterday. Midway through their game, Malik made an impressive shot from beyond the three-point line, and his friends cheered loudly. The atmosphere lightened as they played. Laughter echoed around the court, momentarily pushing away the shadows of tension. The unexpected encounter. Just as they were getting into a groove, Malik spotted Officer Daniels driving into the park again. His heart sank as he watched the cruiser pull up near the basketball court. The officer stepped out and surveyed the area with a stern expression. Malik felt his stomach twist into knots. Would this be another confrontation? Would he have to endure more humiliation in front of his friends? "Stay cool," one of his friends whispered to him as they continued playing but kept an eye on the officer. Officer Daniels approached them slowly but didn't say anything at first. Instead, he stood at the edge of the court with arms crossed, watching them play. "Hey, you kids!" he finally shouted after a few moments. "You need to keep it down. This isn't a place for ruckus." Malik felt anger bubbling up inside him again, but tried to keep calm. "We're just playing basketball," he called back, trying to maintain some composure. "Yeah, we're not bothering anyone," another friend chimed in. Officer Daniels glared at them for a moment longer before turning away and walking back toward his cruiser. Malik felt a mix of relief and frustration. It was clear that this officer wasn't going to change anytime soon. A turning point. Later that day, as Malik walked home from the park with his friends, they discussed what had happened with Officer Daniels. "He's such a jerk," one friend said angrily. "Why does he always have to pick on us?" "I don't know," Malik replied thoughtfully, "but I'm tired of it." His friends nodded in agreement. They talked about how unfair it was for them to be treated differently because of their skin color and how they wished things could change. "I think we should do something about it," Malik said suddenly, feeling inspired by their conversation. "We can't just let him get away with this." "What do you mean?" another friend asked curiously. "I mean, we should organize something, a meeting or a gathering where we can talk about what happened and how we feel," Malik suggested passionately. "Maybe if we share our stories, people will understand." Taking action. His friends looked at him with surprise, but also excitement at the idea. "That's actually a great idea," one exclaimed. "We could invite others, too." "Yes, we can make posters and spread the word," another added enthusiastically. Over the next few days, Malik and his friends worked tirelessly to organize their gathering. They made colorful posters detailing their event, Voices for Change, a community gathering. They planned to discuss their experiences with law enforcement and advocate for understanding and respect within their community. As word spread through school and social media, more people began expressing interest in attending. The response was overwhelmingly positive. Many students wanted to share their own stories about encounters with police or other forms of discrimination they had faced. The day of the gathering. On the day of the gathering, Malik arrived early at Maple Park, this time filled with hope rather than anxiety. The sun shone brightly overhead as families set up picnic tables and chairs in preparation for what they hoped would be an impactful event. His friends helped arrange everything while Malik took a moment to reflect on how far they had come since that fateful day when Officer Daniels had thrown him out of the park. As people began arriving, friends, family members, even some local community leaders, Malik felt a sense of unity forming among them all. There was an energy in the air that made him believe change was possible. Sharing stories. Once everyone had gathered around, Malik took a deep breath before stepping up to speak first. He looked out at all those who had come together, faces filled with anticipation, and began sharing his story. "Thank you all for being here today," he started earnestly. "I want to talk about something that happened recently, something that made me realize how important it is for us to stand together." He recounted his experience with Officer Daniels, the confrontation at Maple Park, and how it affected him emotionally and mentally. As he spoke honestly about feeling marginalized simply because of who he was, he noticed nods of understanding from those listening closely. One by one, others began sharing their own experiences, stories filled with pain but also resilience, each voice adding weight to their collective message. Enough was enough. Building momentum. As more people shared their stories during this gathering, a powerful sense of camaraderie emerged among everyone present. It became clear that they were not alone in facing these challenges. Together, they could amplify each other's voices. Malik felt invigorated by this newfound solidarity. It fueled him further as discussions shifted toward actionable steps they could take moving forward. How best advocate for themselves while fostering dialogue between community members, law enforcement officials alike. After hours spent sharing stories filled with laughter, tears alike, everyone left feeling empowered, knowing change starts within themselves. courageously speaking truth while standing united against injustice. A new understanding. In the days that followed this gathering, the community began seeing shifts take place. Conversations sparked between residents, local police department, aimed at understanding each other better, working collaboratively towards solutions, addressing concerns raised during event. Malik couldn't help but feel proud knowing he had played an integral role initiating these important dialogues, bringing people together, bridging gaps previously unaddressed. However, he also knew challenges lay ahead. Change wouldn't happen overnight, but every step taken brought them closer toward creating safer spaces where everyone felt respected, valued regardless background, identity, held dear. With determination fueling dreams ahead, Malik continued practicing basketball honing skills, knowing future held endless possibilities, waiting patiently just beyond horizon, ready, explore, discover together. The aftermath of the gathering. In the days following the community gathering, Malik felt a renewed sense of purpose. The energy from the event had sparked conversations throughout Maple Park, and he could see changes beginning to take shape. People were more willing to engage in discussions about race, discrimination, and the importance of understanding one another. However, Malik also knew that change wouldn't come easily. Officer Daniels was still patrolling the area, and there were whispers among his friends that he might retaliate against Malik and his peers for speaking out. Despite this looming threat, Malik felt empowered by the support of his community. One afternoon, while practicing basketball at the park with his friends, Malik noticed Officer Daniels driving through again. This time, instead of feeling anxious, he felt a surge of determination. He wanted to confront the officer, not in anger, but in a way that would promote understanding. Confronting Officer Daniels. As Officer Daniels parked his cruiser and stepped out, Malik took a deep breath. "Hey, Officer Daniels," he called out, surprising his friends who were mid-game. The officer turned toward Malik with a frown. "What do you want?" he asked curtly. Malik approached him confidently but respectfully. "I wanted to talk to you about what happened the other day," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "Talk? About what? You think you can just play here without consequences?" Officer Daniels shot back. "No," Malik replied firmly. "I think we need to talk about how we can make this park a better place for everyone. Kids like me and my friends, too." Officer Daniels hesitated for a moment, clearly taken aback by Malik's directness. "You think you know better than me?" he retorted defensively. "I don't think I know better," Malik said earnestly. "But I believe that everyone deserves respect, regardless of their skin color or where they come from." A moment of reflection. The two stood facing each other in silence for a moment. Malik's friends watched anxiously from a distance, unsure of how this confrontation would unfold. Finally, Officer Daniels sighed heavily and ran a hand through his hair. "Look, kid," he began reluctantly. "I have a job to do. Sometimes things get out of hand." "I understand that," Malik replied. "But it doesn't mean you have to treat us like we're criminals just because we're playing basketball in our neighborhood." Malik could see a flicker of something in the officer's eyes, perhaps recognition or even regret, but it quickly vanished behind his hardened exterior. "I don't have time for this," Officer Daniels said brusquely before turning away. "Wait!" Malik called after him. "Can we at least talk about it? Maybe we can find some common ground?" But Officer Daniels walked back toward his cruiser without responding, leaving Malik feeling frustrated yet resolute. He knew that change wouldn't happen overnight. It would take time and effort from both sides. Building community support. Determined not to give up, Malik returned to his friends who had been watching from afar. "What did he say?" one friend asked eagerly. "He didn't really listen," Malik admitted with disappointment. "But I'm not going to stop trying." Over the next few weeks, Malik and his friends continued their advocacy efforts within the community. They organized more gatherings at Maple Park, where people could share their experiences and discuss ways to improve relations with local law enforcement. They invited guest speakers, community leaders who had successfully navigated similar challenges in other towns, to share their stories and strategies for fostering dialogue between police officers and residents. A new initiative. Inspired by these discussions, Malik proposed an initiative called Community Connections. The idea was simple: create regular events where police officers could engage with community members in non-confrontational settings, such as basketball games, barbecues, or town hall meetings, where everyone could come together as equals. His friends rallied around the idea enthusiastically. They began planning their first event, a community basketball game where local police officers would be invited to play alongside residents, a chance for both sides to interact in a friendly atmosphere. "Let's show them we're not just kids causing trouble," Malik said passionately during one planning session. "We're part of this community too." As word spread about the upcoming event, excitement built within Maple Park. Flyers were posted around town inviting everyone to join in on what they hoped would be a transformative experience for all involved. The day of the event. On the day of the Community Connections basketball game, anticipation filled the air at Maple Park. Families gathered with picnic baskets while kids ran around playing tag on the grass. The basketball court was adorned with colorful banners promoting unity and understanding. Malik arrived early with his friends to set up tables for refreshments and organize teams for the game. As they prepared, they noticed several police cruisers arriving, Officer Daniels among them. Malik felt a mix of nerves and excitement as he watched officers step out of their cars and approach the court cautiously. Would they participate? Would they engage with the community? As they began warming up on one side of the court, Malik took a deep breath and approached Officer Daniels again. This time he was determined not just to confront, but also to connect. "Hey, I'm glad you came," Malik said sincerely as he extended his hand for a shake. Officer Daniels looked surprised, but shook Malik's hand nonetheless. "Yeah, I figured I'd check it out," he replied gruffly. "Great. We're just here to have some fun and get to know each other better," Malik said enthusiastically. Breaking down barriers. With that introduction set, the game began. Teams were formed with both officers and residents playing side by side. Laughter echoed around them as they dribbled down court, passing balls back forth, enjoying friendly competition. As they played together, Malik noticed how barriers began breaking down. Officers laughed when someone made an impressive shot while residents cheered them on encouragingly. It felt surreal seeing everyone come together like this, no longer divided by uniforms or prejudices, but united through shared joy sports brought forth. During halftime, the organizers took a moment to address everyone gathered around courtside, sharing stories about why events like these mattered so much: fostering connections, understanding bridging gaps between communities, law enforcement alike. Malik stood up nervously, but confidently spoke about how important it was for young people like him feel safe, respected within their neighborhoods, how initiatives such as Community Connections could help build trust, strengthen relationships over time. A moment of understanding. Afterward, Officer Daniels stepped forward, unexpectedly addressing crowd directly, saying, "I appreciate all you kids coming out today. I know I haven't always handled things well in past, but I'm willing to learn do better moving forward." A ripple of surprise went through those gathered. Many exchanged glances, unsure how to respond initially, but soon enough, applause erupted around them. Malik felt warmth spreading through him, knowing this moment marked significant turning point, not just for himself, but entire community working together toward positive change. As they resumed playing basketball afterward, the atmosphere shifted entirely. Laughter rang out louder than ever before as friendships blossomed between officers, residents alike. Reflection on progress. By day's end, everyone left feeling uplifted, inspired knowing they had taken steps toward creating safer spaces, fostering mutual respect, understanding among each other. Malik couldn't help but feel proud reflecting on how far they'd come since that fateful day when Officer Daniels had thrown him out park. Now here they were, building bridges instead walls, separating them. As summer days turned into fall, the momentum continued growing within Maple Park. More events planned, bringing people together discussing issues facing community openly honestly, while celebrating diversity shared experiences alike. With determination fueling dreams ahead, Malik knew there lay endless possibilities waiting patiently just beyond horizon. Ready explore, discover together. Continuing the momentum. As the weeks turned into months, Malik and his friends worked tirelessly to maintain the momentum they had built with their Community Connections initiative. The basketball games and gatherings had become a regular occurrence at Maple Park, drawing in more participants each time, both from the community and local law enforcement. Malik felt a sense of pride as he watched the relationships between officers and residents grow stronger. Conversations that had once been filled with tension were now marked by laughter and understanding. The officers, including Officer Daniels, began to show up, not just for the events, but also for casual visits to the park, engaging with kids and families in a more relaxed setting. One afternoon, while Malik was practicing his basketball shots, Officer Daniels approached him. "Hey, Malik," he called out, a hint of a smile on his face. "Mind if I shoot some hoops with you?" Malik was taken aback but quickly nodded. "Sure, let's go." He passed the ball to Officer Daniels, who took a few awkward shots before finally sinking one. "Not bad for an old guy," Officer Daniels chuckled, and Malik couldn't help but laugh along. It was moments like these that made Malik realize how far they had come. Building trust. As trust began to build between the community and law enforcement, Malik decided it was time to take things a step further. He approached Officer Daniels after practice one day. "I think we should have a community forum," he suggested. "A place where people can come together to discuss their concerns and ideas about how we can work together moving forward." Officer Daniels raised an eyebrow. "You really think people will show up?" "I know they will," Malik replied confidently. "We've seen how much people care about this community. They want to be heard." With that encouragement, Officer Daniels agreed to help organize the forum. They set a date for 2 weeks later and began spreading the word through social media, flyers, and word of mouth. The day of the forum. On the day of the forum, excitement buzzed in the air at Maple Park. Chairs were set up in a circle under the large oak tree where many gatherings had taken place before. Malik arrived early to help set up alongside Officer Daniels and other volunteers from the community. As people began to arrive, Malik felt a mix of nerves and anticipation. Would people feel comfortable sharing their experiences? Would this be another opportunity for dialogue? The forum kicked off with Malik welcoming everyone and introducing Officer Daniels. "Thank you all for coming today," Malik said warmly. "This is a chance for us to talk openly about our experiences and how we can work together to make our community better." Officer Daniels took the floor next, addressing the crowd with sincerity. "I know that I haven't always been perfect in my role as an officer," he admitted, "but I'm here today because I want to listen, to learn from you all." Sharing stories. One by one, community members began sharing their stories, some filled with pain and frustration, while others spoke about positive experiences they had with law enforcement. Each voice added depth to the conversation, highlighting both challenges faced by residents and efforts made by officers striving for change. Malik listened intently as people spoke about their fears when encountering police officers or how they felt marginalized in their own neighborhoods. He could see Officer Daniels taking notes, nodding thoughtfully as he absorbed everything being said. As the discussion continued, Malik felt empowered by the collective strength of those gathered around him. It was clear that everyone shared a common goal, fostering understanding between law enforcement and community members. A turning point. Then came a pivotal moment when an older woman named Mrs. Thompson stood up to speak. She was well respected in the community, a retired teacher who had lived in Maple Park for decades. "I've seen so many changes in this neighborhood over my lifetime," she began slowly, "but what I've witnessed recently, the fear that young people have when interacting with police, is heartbreaking." Her voice trembled slightly as she continued. "I remember when I was young, we didn't have these kinds of issues. We could trust our officers to protect us without feeling threatened." Tears welled up in her eyes as she spoke candidly about her own experiences with discrimination in her youth, a powerful reminder that these issues spanned generations. "Change starts with us," she concluded firmly. "We must work together, both sides, to build trust again." The room fell silent for a moment before applause erupted around them. It was clear that Mrs. Thompson's words resonated deeply within everyone present. New initiatives inspired by this heartfelt exchange, Mullick proposed several initiatives aimed at continuing their progress. Mentorship programs pairing young people with police officers, workshops focusing on conflict resolution, even regular community events where families could interact freely without fear or judgment. Officer Daniels nodded enthusiastically at each suggestion made during discussions. It felt like they were finally on the same page working toward common goals. By end of forum, everyone left feeling hopeful, knowing they had taken steps toward creating safer spaces, fostering mutual respect, understanding among each other. Facing new challenges. However, despite all these positive developments, Mullick knew challenges still lay ahead. Not everyone would be open-minded or willing to accept change easily. A few days later, while hanging out at home, he saw news coverage highlighting protests happening across country, addressing police brutality, racial injustice. It reminded him just how far they still needed. Go ensure equality, fairness within communities everywhere. Feeling inspired, yet anxious about future, Mullick decided to reach out fellow advocates organizing local efforts aimed at raising awareness around these issues within Maple Park too. He reached out through social media, inviting others join him discussing ways to amplify voices, marginalized communities, ensuring everyone heard loud, clear. Rallying support. As word spread about this new initiative, more people began showing interest, wanting to participate. Soon enough, they organized rallies scheduled to take place weekend following month, bringing together residents from all walks. Life united, caused justice, equality. On day of rally, excitement buzzed through air as families gathered holding signs, advocating change while music played softly, background creating atmosphere filled hope, determination. Mullick stood at forefront, leading chants encouraging everyone join him, raising fists high, proclaiming, "No justice, no peace." As they marched through streets chanting slogans demanding accountability, reform, it felt surreal, seeing so many people come together, fighting against injustices faced daily by countless individuals across nation. A moment of unity. During rally, a moment arose when Mullick spotted Officer Daniels standing offside, watching them intently. Instead, feeling anger, resentment toward him, he felt something different, a sense of understanding, knowing both sides needed work toward common goals. Taking deep breath, Mullick approached Officer once more, extending hand-offering handshake, saying, "Thank you for being here today." To his surprise, Officer Daniels accepted handshake, smiling warmly, replying, "Thank you for leading this effort. It takes courage. Speak out. Stand up what's right." That exchange marked turning point not only for them personally, but also symbolizing shift occurring within entire community, a recognition that true change required collaboration, understanding, from both sides involved. Looking ahead. As weeks turned into months, the momentum continued building within Maple Park, more events planned, bringing people together, discussing issues facing community, openly, honestly, while celebrating diversity, shared experiences alike. Malik couldn't help but feel proud, reflecting on how far they'd come since that fateful day when Officer Daniels had thrown him out park. Now here they were building bridges instead, walls separating them. With determination fueling dreams ahead, Malik knew there lay endless possibilities waiting patiently just beyond horizon, ready explore, discover together. A celebration of progress. As the seasons changed and summer faded into fall, Malik and his friends continued to build on the momentum they had created in Maple Park. The Community Connections initiative had evolved into a staple of the neighborhood, fostering relationships between residents and law enforcement. The regular basketball games, forums, and community events became opportunities for dialogue and understanding. One crisp autumn afternoon, Malik stood at the park, watching as families gathered for a special event, a celebration of their progress. They had organized a Unity Day to honor the relationships they had built and to reflect on the journey they had taken together. The park was adorned with colorful banners that read, "Together we rise," and "Unity in Diversity." Tables were set up with food from local vendors, games for kids, and booths where community members could share their stories or learn about resources available to them. Malik felt a swell of pride as he helped set up for the event. He remembered how far they had come since that day when Officer Daniels had thrown him out of the park. Now they were celebrating not just their achievements, but also the spirit of collaboration that had emerged from adversity. The opening ceremony. As the event kicked off, Malik took to the stage alongside Officer Daniels and Mrs. Thompson. The crowd gathered around, eager to hear what they had to say. "Welcome, everyone," Malik began, his voice steady but filled with excitement. "Today is a celebration of our community, a testament to what we can achieve when we come together." The crowd erupted in applause, and Malik felt his heart race with enthusiasm. He continued, "We've faced challenges along the way, but we've also made incredible strides toward understanding one another. Let's keep this momentum going." Officer Daniels stepped forward next, looking out at the crowd with genuine warmth. "I want to thank each of you for being here today," he said. "It takes courage to open up and share your experiences. I've learned so much from all of you about what it means to serve this community." Mrs. Thompson followed, her voice filled with emotion. "This is what true community looks like. People coming together despite their differences to create a better future for everyone." Sharing success stories. Throughout the day, various community members took turns sharing their stories, how they had been impacted by recent changes in law enforcement practices, or how they felt more empowered to speak out about their experiences. One young woman named Sarah spoke about her journey as a college student who had previously feared police encounters but now felt comfortable engaging with officers in her neighborhood. "I used to feel anxious whenever I saw a police car," she admitted, "but now I see them as part of our community, people who are here to help us." Another man shared how he had been inspired by Malik's leadership and decided to become more involved in local advocacy efforts himself. "We all have a role to play in making our neighborhoods better," he said passionately. As each story unfolded, it became clear that this gathering was more than just a celebration. It was a powerful reminder of how far they had come together. Activities and engagement. After the speeches concluded, attendees enjoyed various activities designed to foster connection and fun. There were basketball games, featuring mixed teams of residents and police officers, face painting for kids, and even a talent show where local artists showcased their skills. Malik found himself playing basketball alongside Officer Daniels again, this time with laughter echoing around them instead of tension. They shared playful banter as they shot hoops together. It felt surreal compared to their first encounter months ago. As evening approached, families gathered around a large bonfire set up in the park's center. The warmth radiated not only from the flames, but also from the sense of unity that enveloped everyone present. A moment of reflection. As darkness fell and stars began twinkling overhead, Malik took a moment away from the festivities to reflect on everything that had transpired over the past few months. He leaned against a tree at the edge of the park, watching families enjoying themselves. The laughter, mingling with crackling firewood, creating comforting atmosphere, filled Hope-Love. He thought about all those who had stood by him throughout this journey. His friends who believed in him when things got tough. His mother who encouraged him never back down. Even Officer Daniels, who had slowly transformed from an adversary into an ally willing to learn grow alongside them. With gratitude swelling within him, he knew this was just beginning. There were still challenges ahead, but together they could face anything. Looking forward. As Unity Day came to an end, the crowd began dispersing while smiles lingered on faces illuminated by flickering firelight. Malik felt hopeful, knowing they would continue building upon foundation laid down during these past months. In days following event, Malik met regularly with his friends discussing next steps moving forward. They brainstormed new initiatives aimed at further strengthening ties between law enforcement residents while addressing ongoing concerns surrounding safety equality within community. They planned workshops focusing on conflict resolution skills, teaching young people how to navigate difficult conversations effectively while fostering understanding mutual respect among diverse groups living side by side each other. A new chapter. As winter approached, the atmosphere within Maple Park shifted once again. Despite colder temperatures, the warmth generated through connections formed remained strong. Malik couldn't help but feel excited about what lay ahead. He was determined not only continue advocating change locally, but also inspire others beyond borders. Reach out, share stories, experiences create ripple effect, spreading positivity everywhere. One evening, while practicing basketball alone under streetlights illuminating court, he spotted a familiar figure approaching him. It was Officer Daniels. "Mind if I join you?" he asked casually, holding basketball under arm, looking eager to play some hoops together again. "Of course," Malik replied, grinning widely, feeling sense camaraderie growing stronger each time they interacted. As they played together, each dribble shot made served reminder how far they'd come since that fateful day when everything changed forever. Now here they were, united purpose-forging friendships, breaking barriers, standing tall against injustice. The power of community. In those moments spent shooting hoops, laughing, sharing stories, it became clear that true change starts within communities willing to embrace differences, work collaboratively toward common goals. Malik knew this journey wouldn't always be easy, but he also understood power found within unity. Resilience, determination. Fighting for justice, equality would continue guiding them forward every step way. With dreams alive, hearts full hope, they stepped boldly into future knowing endless possibilities awaited patiently just beyond horizon. Ready to explore, discover together,